when you hear what we're doing, it seems like it's very much in the here and now, high schoolers right now. We are going to change what Birmingham looks like.
Yes.
These kids are going to change what Birmingham looks like. We are saying that every single student who graduates from Birmingham City Schools should be able to do whatever they want. They should have every option to do whatever they want. And they should have the skills and the connections, the social capital, the financial capital to change the city and to change the world.
Hi, I'm Angela Abdul-Rashid, the host of the Prosper Connector podcast. We're the place where information is shared, connections are made, and great Birmingham stories are told by great Birmingham people. We have none other than Samantha Williams with us today. She is the executive director of the Birmingham Promise, the most amazing student-focused organization in the whole wide world, in my opinion. I may be biased, but I'm right. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you.
So you're here at our podcast, and before we get into the good stuff, we're going to get into the other good stuff.
Okay.
I like to start every podcast asking a question about food.
Okay.
No surprise.
No surprise.
When you think of a food that makes you think of this beautiful city, Birmingham, what food comes to mind for you?
I think of the crispy fish collar at Automatic Seafood.
Okay.
I take everyone there for that at minimum. I don't care what you do after that, but start out with that fish collar.
What's so unique about that?
It's an absolute bust down. I mean, it is like the seasoning, it's fried perfectly. I eat that joint off the bones, you know. I don't
love
care.
it.
I mean, also it's like $20. You better eat it off the bones. I mean, but it is so good. And I just like, you know, I like their food. I like the atmosphere. But that fish collar, I'm just like, I've never had anything like this. And so it's very strongly identified with Birmingham to me.
I love it. It sort of reminds you a little bit about us, too.
Yeah.
Unique.
It's a little spicy. Fried food.
Special. Yeah.
Special.
Yeah.
And like delicious.
Yeah. But also, like, it's fish. So it's relatable.
That's
too.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so now that we've talked about food, my favorite subject, let's talk about my other favorite subject, students.
Yes.
And the work that you all do at Birmingham Promise. But before we get into that, what got you here? Why are you here? Because I know where you've been. So tell us about what got you here.
I mean, I have been looking for an opportunity like what the Birmingham Promise is about for a long time. I was working internationally for most of the decade before I moved here, and I loved that. I lived in...
Can you say where you worked prior
Yes, I was living in South Africa. I moved to South Africa in 2008 and was working there. I was a Rotary Scholar, and then I worked at the School for Girls that Oprah started. And then I moved back to South Africa after coming back to the States for grad school to work with an organization called Teach for All. And so I led our Africa region, which was working with social entrepreneurs in Ghana and Kenya and Uganda to help them start up their own organizations using the model that was sort of pioneered by Teach for America. And so I did that for years and loved it. And living in South Africa, almost over 8 years in total, I loved living there. I mean, I built up a life for myself there, but I very much felt called to come back to my home state, looking at things that were happening in the U.S. There was the 2016 election. A lot of things were sort of in the air. And I felt that people needed other people to sort of say, you know what, we're going to dig in. This is our home, and we're going to make this a better place. And I just felt really pulled to that energy. And then at the same time, on a sadder note, my father passed away, and we were extremely close. And when that happened, I just thought all the time I thought I had to come back to Alabama and be with my parents, I just saw it sort of slipping away. And my mom was still here, and she's still here, and she's down in Daphne. And I was like, I want to be with my family. I miss my family. So Alabama was just where I needed to get back to. And so it wasn't easy. I was asking a lot of folks, like, what's going on in Alabama? What's interesting? Should I move back home and go to Mobile? And one person knew someone. She said, I know one person in Alabama, and that was Josh Carpenter, who's on the board of Birmingham Promise. And he let me know that there was an ED search happening. So I threw my hat in the ring and was overjoyed. This was the perfect opportunity for me.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
We're so glad you made the journey back from Africa home here to Alabama, because you all are truly transforming generations. The work that you're doing is cutting edge. It's necessary. It's hard. And I'll say that again, it's very hard, but you're changing lives. For those that don't know what Birmingham Promise is and what you all do, give us sort of your elevator pitch of who you are and what you do.
Sure. And I will do that, but I want to pick up on something you just said about changing generations. I was just talking to someone about how essential that is for people to understand. When you hear what we're doing, it seems like it's very much in the here and now, high schoolers right now. We are going to change what Birmingham looks like.
Yes.
These kids are going to change what Birmingham looks like. We are saying that every single student who graduates from Birmingham City Schools should be able to do whatever they want. They should have every option to do whatever they want. And they should have the skills and the connections, the social capital, the financial capital to change the city and to change the world. But when you do that for every single student, and something that has never been done, no one has ever invested in every single child and said, what do you need to succeed after high school? We are going to do that in the next 10 years, and the city will never be the same. So what we do is we are designed to support graduates from the Birmingham City School District to achieve economic mobility, security, and prosperity. And we do that by ensuring that they can go to a public 2 or 4 year college in the state of Alabama without paying tuition. So we do last dollar tuition assistance. After their Pell Grants is applied, we pay the remainder. And we do that by connecting students to internships while they're in high school that are paid at $15 an hour, connecting them to mentors, to a supervisor, teaching them how to work, how to, show up in a professional workspace, but then also giving companies a chance to benefit from the brilliance and the talent and the spark that our students have, so that the students come away with greater capital and our companies come away with a deeper connection and commitment to kids in Birmingham City Schools. And then we also help students think about job prospects. We're running several programs right now designed to help students who don't think college is for them enter the workforce, but with more mobility, with opportunities that give them the skills and the training and the connections so that they actually can fulfill their dreams and achieve a career that is sustaining to them, to any family that they want to have, to whatever their goals and their hopes are.
It's a win-win.
Absolutely.
And you have said so much. So let's unpack.
Sure.
So let's start with the tuition assistance. Yes. Thank you on behalf of parents and step-parents all around the world who have someone in school in Alabama because of Birmingham Promise.
Love to hear it.
What you all do for families is transformative. It is truly transformative. Tell me what that means, what that literally means to a student.
Absolutely. So that means that if you are graduating from high school and choose to go to college, you're going to get this bill that will include, somewhere around $10,000.
A lot of money.
In tuition.
Yes.
And then if you're leaving the city of Birmingham, it's also going to include room and board and all these types of things. Well, that tuition bill, what it means is that you apply for your federal financial aid, and any of the grants that they give you get applied to that tuition bill. And the rest of it, Birmingham Promise just wipes it out. So that means that if you earn a church scholarship or you get a Rotary scholarship or any other type of grant, any other student loans at that point, they can go to all the other costs. You don't have to worry about tuition. So your money goes further. Your ability to take on a lower student debt load is then activated because you don't have to borrow against your tuition. It's completely taken care of.
And then you top that with mentors and tutoring that are required.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
working with the financial support that you have and then just the tangible wraparound services, tell us a success story.
Oh,
And I know you have a lot.
yes. It's like where to
Tell
start.
us one.
I mean, we have, I think it's 5, sometimes 6. We are always growing to ensure that we have enough success coaches so that they can go all across the state and work directly with students to meet with them in groups and one-on-one. They're asking them about their grades, their study habits, their mental health, their physical health, all of the things that we know that are barriers. And then they also, those success coaches have in their back pocket access to a fund to help a student out in an emergency.
Yes, I've heard about that fund.
Yes.
So that is the equivalent of when I was in college, let's just say something happened catastrophic that my parents might not have had
That's
the
right.
money for. They have on-site support
That's
that
right.
says, no worries, we have you covered.
That's right.
What that means to a student as they're navigating
Absolutely.
college and being away from home, again, transform. I'm going to use that word a lot. That's my word for the podcast.
But it's
transformative.
True. It's true. I mean, I think about, I went to college on scholarships, and there would be things that came up, and I knew that calling home, my parents would, they'd have empathy. They would try to figure it out. But some things are just out of reach, especially for a student who's going to college and is experiencing any type of financial, precariousness or things like that. And so this exists so that those things don't derail you.
Wow.
But the success coach is there to first try to help you find any resources locally. We know that there are places where you can access food, clothing, emergency funds, social workers, mental health counselors without paying. Those services exist. But students don't always know how to connect the dots, but our success coach does.
Wow.
And so they're there to help them find those things. And if that's not what they need, then they can also come back and let us know about this need from this fund and get the money out to the student. So we have a lot. I mean, our success coaches, the stories that they tell are, some can be painful because our kids are sometimes going through too much, and they're coaching and supporting students who are experiencing really tough things while they're doing something that's already really tough, which is going to college. But we have had students graduate early. We have a lot of students who are graduating in 2024. We have even more who will be graduating in 2025. We're seeing that students, they're making it through. Some students are flying through.
Yes.
And good for them, right? And that's not rare. And I think people need to understand that students leaving the school system, they're ready. And then some students, they're taking a little bit longer, but we're there with them alongside them. And so our students, they are succeeding.
I love it. So let's talk about that preparation that helps that success come. Prosper has benefited from Birmingham Promise interns for the last 3 years, and we will never, ever, ever, ever stop.
Love to hear
because
it.
they are fantastic. The breath of just fresh air that they bring to our environment, to our office, the innovation, the questions, the insight that's different than ours is so necessary. But also, I think what we're able to give them, I hope, is a benefit to them, not just during the internship, but long term. We still hear and keep in close touch with the ones from 2021 and 2022 and 2023, and we expect that to carry on. Talk to potential employers and why they would find such value in investing and hosting interns fall semester, spring semester, all year, however is perfect for them.
Yes, all of the above. You can host an intern any time of year. I love hearing the stories about employers like Prosper and the time that you're having with your students. I hear those stories more than anything else. These are high school students. Of course, some of them are still learning the ropes. We're there to help teach them. But without question, employers are gaining from having students
Absolutely.
there. We have a student in our office. He was in the office for the spring term of 2024, working remotely for AL.com. And I was trying to write something up about his experience there. And I just went to AL.com and was read through all his stories. And when I got to 24, I stopped. I was like, this student has 24 plus published
yes.
stories, bylines to his name for his CV. I don't have, and they're real stories.
Yeah.
They're real stories. They have him learning those skills and reporting. Students are getting in there and people are seeing their potential and seeing how they have a unique take on things, perspective on things. We have interns who are helping revolutionize how companies do their social media. We have interns who are going out and working with students in the high schools because they know how students think. And we have, organizations that are doing work in the schools and need a student ambassador. We have Birmingham Promise hires interns. They help us with our internship program, a little bit meta.
Better? Yeah,
but who better?
Absolutely.
So, across the board, we're seeing that students bring a spark. They're very, we all know how digitally savvy they are. And so
indeed.
if there's any challenge
Yes.
that you're having with that, this intern is a good source. But they're also just fast learners and really eager. They're excited. They enjoy being able to step off campus and do something different. And so they're really there to learn. And people you all are not alone in keeping up with your interns. I bump into people in the community who say that they have hired their interns for the summers while they're in college.
Yes, we've done that too.
And I'm like, okay. And we didn't even facilitate that.
Yeah.
They just love, and I'll use the word love, they love their intern.
Yeah. Well, and it's because of the work that you all do and have done. And I know that we are approaching a milestone for Birmingham Promise. Something going on in 2024?
It will be 5 years since
So
the Birmingham
now.
Promise.
You're an official veteran in the nonprofit world.
Listen.
5 is major, Sam.
Crossing over.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to believe. And I think throughout Promise's existence, we've sort of straddled the lines of, are we a newbie startup or are we a mature organization? Because from the beginning, we've been working, there was no pilot.
Right.
It was class of high school 2020, you can go to college without paying tuition. Boom. And we've been building off of that. And so to be at 5 years, to have a first full cycle of 4-year graduates coming through, it's surreal, and so much has been done. When I arrived almost 2.5 years ago, I was in awe of what had been done and what has then happened with the team, the folks who are there, really delivering for kids. What they have done in the 2.5 years since I've been there is nothing short of extraordinary. So what are we even going to do in the next 5 years?
Right.
I think we're going to win.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see every kid in Birmingham City Schools knowing about Birmingham Promise, taking us up on this opportunity. I think we're going to see kids graduating from college ready and eager to come back here and take over the city and to change how the city looks for them and for their kids and for generations.
So that's my question. What is your vision for Birmingham Promise? What is your vision for our students? And we'll call them ours because we want them back here.
We do.
But what's next? I know funding for any nonprofit is always on mind.
Absolutely.
What do you need? Who do you need? What do you see? What do you want?
Whew. What do you want? Which is such a powerful question.
I did it on purpose.
What do you want? So at the beginning of this year, I started asking our team, what do you want to be true for the city of Birmingham in 2030? It just broadly for our economy, social, for kids, and really thinking, what do we want this to look like? We want a peaceful, because we know that too many of our kids are living and caught up in cycles that are not peaceful.
Yes.
A peaceful, prosperous Birmingham. So for me, that tells me that we need to make sure that our students have hope in the future and the opportunities that are available to them, and that those opportunities pay off in the form of a pathway to prosperity for all of our students. So I'm looking towards 2030, the next 5 years. That will mean, a solid 10 years or more since Promise was launched. If we can, in this 10-year cycle, prove that we're able to get more kids to and through college, more kids learning on the job, working in not just trades, but in offices, learning from people across the economy in Birmingham at every level. If we can have as many students as we can possibly hold in our hands graduating from BCS, taking up those opportunities. My vision is that we're going to see the folks who were working as interns at Prosper in 2021 are now having director level roles.
Absolutely.
These are folks who are running our economy. They are entrepreneurs. Workforce is essential. I'm part of the workforce. You're part of the workforce. And yet students are so much more than workforce. They are autonomous, brilliant beings, right? So I want them to come back to Birmingham and lead us, be in the jobs that matter, working for the city, working for companies, leading organizations, teaching in our classrooms, working in our hospitals, being change makers themselves. And so if by 2030 we can prove that we can reach every single kid in Birmingham and that we are delivering outsized results for them in college and in the workforce, I'll think we have won.
I consider that a pure victory.
I think so.
And we can do it together.
I think we can.
We can do it together. One last question. So your goal is 2030. The number of students that you all have served and hope to serve in the future, what would it look like for you as the leader of this amazing organization to say, my job has been done and has been done well?
So it goes back to your question about funding. So we can do this for another 5 years, just as we're doing it. We can continue to work with our amazing financial partners, with the universities that are sharing costs with us, that are helping it. We can do it and continue. But I have our team looking at what does it look like for us to support kids in middle school?
Oh, wow.
What do we need to be telling parents of kindergartners and first graders? Because that hope that I was talking about, that certainty that something exists for kids after 12th grade, that does not start in 12th grade.
Absolutely.
So if I have folks talking to kindergarten parents, that means that Birmingham Promise has to exist for those kids when they finish 12 years later, 10 years later. So I need to deliver on an endowment for Birmingham Promise. There's no way to continue giving out $5 million a year in scholarships without there being some type of fund that is dedicated to those students, so that if your child is born tomorrow, you can say, my baby will go to college and will not pay tuition. So I feel a responsibility to maybe not complete it, because we're talking tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars that have to be raised. But I am clear that we have to start and that we need to get pretty far. And for me as a leader, I don't intend to go anywhere until I feel that I have spent all that I have to give to build that endowment, to build the type of organization that can deliver on that endowment, so that when no matter who runs Birmingham Promise, they don't inherit something that is playing small, scrapping around, hoping to have impact. But we are clear on how we deliver impact for kids.
It can happen.
Of course it can.
It can happen. It has to happen.
Of course it can.
And if you are the person that can make it happen, thank you in advance. Be sure to reach out to Samantha Williams.
Yes.
Who knows who's watching?
You
but
never
it has
know.
to happen.
It has to happen.
It has to happen.
I often ask people, what's the alternative?
Right.
We're going to not invest
Right.
in the 1,000, 1,100 kids are graduating every single year. We're going to just hope that they do okay.
And then hope that they come back.
And that they come back to Birmingham and that they find, a job that's going to... We already are facing a crisis in Birmingham. People are always talking about how to get more talent from outside. If we don't pour into the 1,100 kids who are right here, who have ties here, who have family here, who love living here, but wonder what's here for me after I graduate, what is our alternative? And people will always think about, it's an expensive model, it's this or that. It is nothing compared to the lifetime returns of somebody who knows that their education was taken care of and that they were cared for, that someone cared enough to create this program like Mayor Woodfin did 5 years ago, that someone cared enough, and then that we all as a community believed enough to keep it going for their little sisters and then for them as they grow up and become parents in Birmingham City schools.
It's the ultimate return on investment.
It really is.
And thank you for leading that charge, Sam.
It's truly my honor. It's truly my honor.
Thank you. Well, Birmingham Promise must live. And so that's that on that.
Yes.
And we know that as a community, we are here to support. How can people reach out? How can they connect? How can they host 10 interns and give and support and mentor?
I always tell people Birmingham Promise is not the organization I run. Birmingham Promise is this community's promise to kids. So this is your organization. So if you want to talk to us at Birmingham Promise, you can email me anytime, and you can send a message to info@birminghampromise.org. That will get back to me. You can call us. Our website is birminghampromise.org. That has information on how to apply for the scholarships, how to apply for the internships. It has the contact information for how to host an intern. We are looking year-round for people who want to host interns. We have currently, each year we're getting about 300 kids who want to do the internship program. We need employers to match. And we want more than 300 because in an ideal world, every student would have an internship. Every company in Birmingham would have a young person here. So you can reach out to me year-round. We will find a place for you. And for the financial support, we are so grateful for the way this community has stepped up to fund Birmingham Promise. And I believe we can raise our endowment in this community if people understand that we don't have any other option. The children literally are our future.
Yes.
And if folks don't understand that now in 2024, I don't know what to tell them.
Well, we're going to help them understand in case they don't.
That's right.
Samantha Williams, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for taking time to join us on the podcast. And thank you for keeping the promise.
It is truly an honor.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angela.